Welcome back, my friends. Now, tomorrow morning at 7 a.m, Ofgem will announce another hike in the energy price cap, signalling more bad news for hard-up families. Fuel prices have rocketed around the world, in part because of that war in Ukraine. But as Brits pay higher bills, Prime Minister Boris Johnson wants us to remember that the Ukrainians are paying in blood. Tonight on Uncensored, we want to know, can the public's support for this war survive the economic crisis? And should those taking in Ukrainian refugees be getting more than 350 quid a month? Joining me now from East London is Admiral Lord West, who thinks we must continue to confront Russia, and it's a small price to pay. In Wales, we have Oliver Orchard, who's taken in a Ukrainian refugee but is struggling by his own admission to pay the bills. And in the studio is Heritage Party leader David Kurten, who says that Britain should be putting the British people first. I'd like to go to Oliver in Wales, if I can, really as a starting point. Oliver, you and your family made that decision in May. You say that you have received your £350 per month in lieu, but the reality for you now is it's a struggle financially.
Well, I suppose I should actually sort of preface this and say that, you know, it's not that much of a struggle as it stands. We are in a position where we can do this. We believe in the principle of what we're doing. We stand by it. Everybody is feeling the pinch, and we are making our way through this. And it will be absolutely fine. So we are not struggling. But what I will say is, on that note, the early days of this, when she first arrived, and we had to sort out everything from food and utilities and making sure she was finding work and all those other bits, that's when we felt the pinch initially. And I think that's where a lot of people may have struggled in that first acute stage of the 8 to 10 weeks.
Oliver, you told my team, because we built up such a relationship with her, we don't want her to leave in a difficult situation, but we're finding ourselves increasingly in a financial situation. Either she has to go or we have to work extra hours. So that is an issue, isn't it?
It's something, it's an issue, but there are bigger issues than that.
You're a good person,
I can only speak for us. Well, no, you know, we discussed this with your team, and the way I see it, yes, I have worked a lot more days and more hours. I'm still feeling the echo, and the echo of Dunkirk's spirit. I think of my great-grandfather at times like this. He was a captain in World War II. And it's instinctive. I don't have a problem. It's okay. If I've saved one person and I saved her son from being injured, wounded, or front line, then we've done our part. It's okay.
Let's bring in, if I can, David Kurten, Heritage Party leader. You say about Boris, who said yesterday, you know, we're struggling, but your bills that are increasing, you know, they're paying in blood. I do wonder, I mean, I find myself in a difficult position because I absolutely know that Ukrainian war is not just about Ukraine, it's about Europe. But I also always, it's like the immigration issue, and nobody talked about it for years. The British people are really struggling right now. And the British people, I don't know what it's called, war fatigue or whatever, I worry, not only the ones that have taken people, Ukrainians in, and shown their nice side, but that could be a struggle. But people are struggling to survive. And they will look at 54 million yesterday, no disrespect to Ukraine, will they not, and go, we can't pay our bills.
And that's on the top of $1 billion or so that's already been given to the Ukrainian government in weapons and money. I think Boris there is making this statement because he wants to sound like Churchill. He's got this great idea that he's going to be seen in history as a Churchill-like figure. But he's not putting the British people first. And he is not going to suffer from this. He's not going to struggle because he has a very, very large MP salary. Even when he steps down as Prime Minister, he'll still get a lot of money coming in. And he's completely out of touch with ordinary British people who are suffering.
A quarter of British families taking part in the Homes for Ukraine scheme are set to quit in the coming weeks, citing lack of support amid soaring inflation and energy bills. With the greatest respect to my man, Oliver in Wales, you can tell he's a thoroughly decent man. But he did say at the end, yes, I don't regret doing it, but I'm having to work extra hours. It is becoming more difficult for people. Tomorrow, that Ofgem announcement at 7 a.m, could say £6,000. I'm terrified that families will go to the wall, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, Oliver there obviously did it from the goodness of his heart
Absolutely.
for the best of reasons. I mean, I think we should sit down actually on a wider sense and try to end the conflict so that we don't need, to take more refugees. That's another kind of issue.
I mean, it is another cushion. And I'd like to bring in Admiral Lord West, former First Sea Lord. You say, Admiral West, Boris is right. We have to confront Russia and Ukraine. I might agree with that as well, but I want to ask you this. In doing that, are we causing our own people to suffer unnecessarily?
I think there are a whole raft of things that are making a perfect storm in terms of people's incomes and the amount of money they have to spend. But I have no doubt whatsoever that making sure we support Ukraine is putting the British people first. We have in Putin a man who used polonium, a radioactive, very unpleasant material, quite freely in London to kill someone. We know he then used a nerve agent to kill someone in Salisbury. He breaks all of the accepted norms of behaviour. He has made it very clear that he wants to see Russia back to where it was when it was the Soviet Union. And I'm afraid we had to confront him. Now, I'm afraid that is costing money and it's difficult. I think Boris is correct that actually Ukraine are paying in terms of blood, and that's not very nice. But if we don't stop him, we will end up being in a position where our people are paying in terms of blood.
The point is, weirdly, Admiral Lord West, I agree with that. But as David Kurten says, and Oliver alluded to, David, I wonder whether politicians actually truly understand, because they've had 6 weeks holiday and we've had a government that's not been there. Do they know what tomorrow morning means to so many families, the length and breadth of this country?
Oh, first of all, I'd say I do actually disagree with Admiral Lord West. I think we shouldn't have got into the conflict in the first place, and we should be de-escalating the conflict rather than trying to prolong it, because that is actually. But
does he want to de-escalate it, Vladimir Putin? If you don't take on somebody like that, as Lord West says, what do you get? Is he going to run over everywhere else?
If you sit around the table and negotiate and stick to the Minsk agreements, which we had in place.
But he didn't agree with them. He's been smarting since the Soviet Union was split up, and he's gone into a sovereign independent nation.
Well, not at all. I think if you look at the wider issue, the ethnic Russian people in the Donbass area were being shelled and maimed and killed for 8 years, and he's gone in to protect them. So that's a different
I don't agree with that, but we've all got opinions. Lord West, you wanted to jump in? I haven't got much time.
I'm sorry, I totally disagree with that.
Why?
I seem to have lost something there.
Oh, he's gone. He disagrees with that.
He disagrees. I mean, that is the fact. I mean, if we'd stuck to the Minsk agreement...
Well, I disagree with that as well, by the way. I genuinely disagree with that.
Well, we may have to disagree on that.
But I think what nature is.
Coming back to, how this is impacting on British families, that's what we need to put first. And we need to actually try to alleviate the suffering and the cost of living, the cost of energy crisis, which is coming tomorrow morning.
Let's just talk, Oliver, very quickly, back to Wales. You are the person that took in a family. You're such a good man. I've got 30 seconds. You're not going to say you regret it, but as things get tougher, as that off-gem announcement happens tomorrow, what happens if you can't make ends meet? What goes first, your family or the Ukrainian lady? 30 seconds, go.
No, we'll always find a way to protect her. I minimized the windows on the desktop on this one back down to just human stories. She's been through a lot. Her son has been through a lot. I still believe if we just do right by another Ukrainian person, we can end the war that way. It's human stories for me anyway.
Thank you very much indeed, Oliver. Let's finish with Admiral Lord West, whose sound is back. You were very vocal. You said, I disagree. 30 seconds, sir.
Yeah, I disagree entirely that we mustn't confront Putin. When it comes to spending money, I'm afraid when you're faced with the possibility of war, that is where you've got to spend your money. If Putin succeeds, and if we then went to a greater war, then the NHS, welfare, these things would mean absolutely nothing, because it's the destruction and end of your country and your civilization.
Very quick final question. Do you think the British people have the stomach to suffer as they are and keep supporting this war? Admiral Lord West, yes or no?
I think the British people have, yes, except they do want to know that the people ruling them understand the pain that has been caused by a whole series of other things.
Thank you very much indeed. And David, that's the point. Where is the damn government? Nobody's explaining anything to us. 20 seconds.
Yeah, well, Boris Johnson's on holiday and he's gallivanting off to Kiev. He's doing public relations for himself, but he's not understanding what people are going through. And that is the key thing that he should be attending to.
Thank you very much indeed, Oliver in Wales. David Kurten, the studio. Admiral Lord West.